This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Pushing the economy to the next level. And our proverb today talks about power and people and the need to listen. A man who uses force is afraid of reasoning. A man who uses force is afraid of reasoning. How would you interpret that?
The reasoning is difficult work. So to escape that, use force. and it's typical of where we are as a country. We are not willing to sit down and reason. So we take the shortcut and basically cow people, you know. I think that's what it means. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not willing to sit down and reason.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Governor, there's so many things that are happening politically. And as a result of those political happenings, we're seeing a lot of those manifestations, whether it is manifestations in protests and demonstrations, whether it is then manifestation in death, 31 killed from the protests that took place just a week ago. And also then we're looking at 31 killed just from Sabasaba. I mean, it is sad. It's a sad number to have to then acknowledge. But then it gives rise to the politic of the nation at the moment. Not too long ago, you were hounded out of office for 60 days. There were charges that were leveled, or not charges, but there were allegations or questions about your management of Trans-Nzoia County offices. And many have already alluded to an idea that this may be politically motivated. You came out with the Tawe movement soon after you became governor. And so are all of these things tied together?
Of course, they are tied together. Even in my meetings with my people, I've been saying that the government will come for you. It goes back to the same proverb. Because this government doesn't like to be confronted with the truth. Kenyans are raising very, very pertinent issues, but is the government willing to listen? When you raise these issues, instead of them responding to the issues, they use the alternative way, and that's silencing you. Of course, without going with the merits or demerits of whatever allegations were raised against me. For me, from where I sit, it was just political. They were meant to just silence me. You know, people come to your house and they're searching the house and they're picking almost everything. Every little paper, every little document. What are you looking for? You know, they can't really tell you. And then you are taken to their offices. They take a whole day recording a statement. And then out of the blue, they tell you are going to court tomorrow. Yeah, and then you go to court, the kind of charge leveled against you. You know, we'll see what kind of proof they have, but basically they're just ridiculous.
Were they on a fishing expedition, you think?
I think they were. You know, when you really try to engage them, you know, they say that we received these allegations from people. But when you get the allegation, why don't you investigate them? Do you just get the allegation, then you go arresting people, and then you charge, and then look for evidence later. To not try to get evidence to fit the charges. It's a very sorry state, and you know you are told not to comment on these things. So they basically traumatize you, and they tell you not to talk about it. So even the trauma is even more. Because I'm sure when you talk about these things and share, it's better. They tell you not to go to the office for 60 days. The physical space where you sit. But again, I think the intention was to prevent me from going to Trans-Nzoia. So they believe that when I'm out of Trans-Nzoia, then I'll not be able to be talking about some of these things. But I've got a platform elsewhere. I can go elsewhere and even here and talk about the same things. It is the short-sightedness of this government that is so unsettling, that's so annoying. Because these are the things that were happening before 1992 during the single-party state, where the word of government was final. But I'm surprised we are back to the pre-1992 days where Kenyans are now starting even to talk in whispers. And these young people are coming out because their parents have basically been cowed. They see things happening, things that are done that don't happen in the proper way, but they're keeping quiet. So the young people are coming out. But again, they're confronting a very ruthless regime that you talk, and then what you receive up are bullets. How do you kill a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old, 25-year-old? Like yesterday, they arraigned people in court. All of them were below the age of 25, and they're being charged with terrorism. Why terrorism? You know? You just want to intimidate. They know they level the highest charge almost on land, so that you fear, because once it's confirmed, then you are jailed for more than 30 years.
Well, you're a security man. Yeah. You former Rift Valley Regional Commissioner. As a police officer, perhaps you can give us insight into why that would happen, because that's why I said you have previous experience. You still have the experience, whether you're not given the title of top cop at this point, but you are very well aware of how these things would happen previously. Why would that happen? So why would you arrest people and charge them with terrorism if they were attending a protest?
Just a point of correction. I've never been a policeman, by the way.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Kenyans believe I was.
We believe
general, almost 100% of Kenyans believe I was a cop. I've never been a cop. I was a district officer, became a district commissioner, became a county commissioner, became a regional commissioner.
Okay.
I was basically in administration, but of course, administrators chair security committees.
Yes.
That's why maybe Kenyans rushed me a lot with the
police.
With the police service.
I beg your pardon. Okay.
Yeah. So, what Okar was talking about, this fishing thing, people are expressing they're setting their problems. As provided for in the Constitution, the freedom of speech is there, the freedom of association is there. But you want to prevent that, and you cannot do it the constitutional way. So what do? You go outside the law and start now fishing for charges and, and also fishing for courts where you think you are going to get a favorable ruling, and basically just silencing people. This government wants to rule, not even to govern. They want to rule as Kenyans keep quiet, so that we are just like indifferent bystanders as they do whatever they want. They are very uncomfortable when people raise certain truths about government, and yet the government is supposed to be accountable. How do you be accountable when people are raising issues and we want to listen? Yeah, but for how long are they going to do this? How many people are they going to jail?
So, Governor, if you look at one of the reasons why one would say that your charges were leveled against you is because you're considered to be unspoken and you don't fear to challenge authority. And some of the things that you challenged is when the issuance of IDs was announced that should be given to individuals, mostly from northeastern part of the country, and you raised concerns with regards to the security of the country. And that appeared as though you were challenging the president's directive and advice. Would you reckon this is why they say lazima ni kunyamazishe?
I think so, because I strongly believe that the president was misadvised. Because when he was issuing that order to exempt people from northern Kenya from being vetted, he forgot that all border communities actually are vetted for IDs. So why are you exempting one community when you should have applied to all? Then number two, we have got problems with all our neighboring countries, especially Somalia, where we have very serious issues of terrorism. Actually, the first time Kenya went to war with another country was in Somalia because of Al-Shabaab. And we've had issues with the border communities because we're the same community, like the Somalis in Kenya and Somalis in Somalia are just Somalis. And that's why we had this idea of vetting. Because how do you know that one is a Kenyan Somali and one is a Somali? You must have that vetting. If a chief is confronted by two individuals, one who is a Kenyan Somali, another one is a Somali, how will he know without that committee that would vet? Now, for me, my major concern was the moment you give an outsider a national ID, a guy from Somalia, and they look for our IDs for very nefarious reasons, not for very, very good reasons. They'll come in, they'll become citizens of this republic. They're going to get our passports. Now, when they go out there, they're committing crimes, as they always do, as they sometimes do. Then, it'll not be Somalia till they'll be blamed. Now, Kenya will be a haven of a place where terrorists are bred. That's my biggest problem. Then now, Kenya want to get a visa to travel out there. You're going to be subject to a lot of stringent vetting, because now our documents will become dubious. The integrity will have been lost. That's what I was raising. That instead of removing vetting, can we make it more efficient? That we remove all these corrupt activities that surround vetting, so that our Kenyan people, like the Kenyan Somalis, actually they go through harrowing experiences to get IDs. Foreigners will easily get IDs because they've got money. They'll come and pay this vetting committee that they get IDs. But our local Somalis themselves, because they don't have money, it becomes very difficult for them to get IDs. Can you streamline that? Instead of just issuing a blanket decree that there will be no vetting at the border commission. And for me, even those communities are going to fight because you find a chief. For instance, I just want to give an example of a community called Aulian, for instance, in Kenya. And I know like politics basically client-based. So to boost the numbers, you look across that and bring your kinsmen to do this kind of register them, to give them IDs and register them as voters. The other local community will be seeing what's happening. When it comes to elections, people are going to fight. Actually, those guys will not be allowed to cross over from Somalia to come and vote. They're going to fight. And when you listen even to the leadership of a county like Marsabit, they're already complaining. Yeah, because some of them know they don't have communities across like in Ethiopia. But those who have got the cases in Ethiopia are having them now registered into Kenya and changing the local demographics. The president doesn't get this. It's just common sense. I don't know if he consumes intelligence or it doesn't, because this is something that National Intelligence Service should be able to tell the president that this is a wrong policy policy directive, and he will be able to listen. He may refuse to listen now, but people are going to live another 5-10 years are going to bear the consequences of this kind of decisions. Yeah.
Governor, you've just concluded a Western tour. 2 days, I think?
Yeah, it was a Thursday, Friday.
2 days tour. And you were with DCP leader, Rigathi Gachagua, with his deputy, Malala. You were also with Kalonzo Musyoka and Eugene Wamalwa. You appear to be fronted as under the political framing from Western as one of those leaders that is rising very fast from Western. Why would you, what would you say is the political framing of Western politics, one? Two, why do you think you are being targeted? And thirdly, why you?
Western region has been the hunting ground for everyone. You know, Kenya's politics, unfortunately, is tribal. And communities that appear to be solid in terms of the ethnicity, they're taken more seriously in terms of politics. Look even just at the way the presidents have been rotating between the Kikuyu and the Kalenjin, and look at the way they vote. They vote almost to a man with their own person. And for me, from where I come from, I've got a background in anthropology, and I don't make any apologies about these issues of ethnicity. Of course, negative ethnicity is bad because you see to discriminate against other people. But people coming together as a community because they share certain attributes is not a bad thing. I believe that having strong ethnicities, ethnic communities, is a good thing. Actually, I prefer to call them nationalities. I call about the Luya nation, the Kisi nation, the Luo nation, the Kikuyu nation. Kenya is a nation state, a state composed of different nationalities. I believe it's a good thing. And I've been talking to my community because when it comes to politics, we are completely divided. We vote all over the place. We don't value the vote. And the consequence has been that the second largest community in Kenya in terms of just numbers, demographics, numbers, and even in terms of voters. I think we're the poorest community in this republic. You go and look at the way our people live and the kind of menial jobs that they do all over the place. Somebody gives birth in Murang'a, they want to get a house girl from Vihiga, somebody wanting a watchman, they're looking for a lawyer, you go to the grave diggers, the lawyers.
Are you saying there's a stereotyping to the lawyer community?
Completely, and because of the way we have played our politics, we've not been able to negotiate properly for the national cake. These jobs are there and they must be done by somebody. But why should my community be the predominant one in those menial jobs? We should be sharing, all of us. And I think that message is resonating very well with our people. And then number two, the girls have been on that table, the negotiating table. That table is actually there. People sit down, they share the national cake. It's not something that's just academic. The girls who've been there is Mudavadi and Wetangula. Can they account for their time? Over 70 years combined on that table. What have they done even to just transform the life of the people, even just in terms of infrastructure, water, roads, and all these things? They've done nothing. When I was talking about the Luya community not even having had a police commander as an inspector general of police for all these years, or a 3-star general, a lieutenant general in the defense forces, people thought I was just I was just inciting. But when they looked at the facts, actually, it was indeed true, and some things have started happening. I say that not just because I want to advance the interests of the Luya community, but I know there are also very many other communities who are suffering the same. If your voice is on that table, you are ignored. So can we just have that table that looks at the interests of every community in this republic, so that everybody gets their fair share and gets a fair shot in this country? That's all I've been talking about. So the total interest, a lot of interest in Western is because there are people who in the arithmetic, they know that without Western, they cannot win anything. And I believe when the current president knows that without Western and the mountain is gone, how is he going to get the presidency in 2027? And when you appear to be locking Western and locking them out, they become a bit jittery. And that's why you see that a lot of venom, even from fellows who operate from State House. They're always talking about me everywhere. You go to the Senate, somebody just stands on a point of order, a completely irrelevant subject, but has to mention my name there. It's because of the political threat and the political hit that I feel that for the first time since Wamalwa Kijana, I think the Luyas are coming together and they're speaking with the same voice. And the things I'm saying are not just resonating with the Luya, they're resonating with everybody who feels excluded from this government.
So you look at the issues you're raising in terms of development in the Luya nation. Look at water, education, and whatnot. And these are concerns that one would say the entire leadership of the region would see that happen. Now you're coming to emancipate all these and make sure that you speak in one voice. Why would that be a problem to one, say, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, and his boss, William Ruto? Why do you seem to be a threat to them?
I believe that the kind of situation we have in Western is orchestrated. People have made it be like that. Like, they're not interested in fighting poverty. They're not interested in fighting illiteracy because illiterate, poor people are easier to manipulate and to manage. So when you come out and you want to empower people, first of all, they look at you like you are a very stupid person. Why are you empowering these people? And you're supposed to be in their class. The privilege, because the governor is not a very small person, you're supposed to be there, keep quiet, and just enjoy the privileges of the position that you hold. Why are you empowering these people? Yeah, that's the biggest problem I'm having with these characters, because they're the beneficiaries of the status quo. The status quo is not good for almost 99% of the population, but it's good for that small percent that's less than 1%. That's really enjoying what's happening there. You'll campaign during elections and then disappear for 5 years, come back with some little money. In Western, when you give somebody 50 shillings, they'll vote for you. It's a lot of money. Actually, there are people, I've challenged people in a meeting that wale watu ambao wako na shilingi 100 here, can you move aside and I add you another 100? In a meeting of 3,000 people, and nobody will stand up because they've got no money. Up to the level of poverty I'm talking about. And this poverty, as I said, is orchestrated. Keep them down so that you can manage them. These leaders are very, very extremely insecure. That's why you see the way they are responding with a lot of violence, as you say, because they're very, very secure. They don't want Kenya to raise very uncomfortable questions, because we're asking them to account for their time in these positions, and they're not able. And when even you play clips that they used to say, oh, when I get into power, I'll get 30% of this, I'll get 30% of that, I'll be doing this, we're going to get our police recruited. They were just lying. They don't want anybody to say such a things. You keep quiet, because they'll come up with new promises in 2027. They say, no, before you come up with the new promise, can we look at what you promised in 2022? They don't want that. So that's why I'm a man on the spot, because I'm saying some uncomfortable truths to the people that were supposed to be belonging together up here. But I've joined the masses here because for me, I believe I'm in the masses. That's how I grew up in those circumstances, and I've strove over my life to ensure that I don't forget where I came from. And I believe if we appreciate that, then we can do something. Kenya just one basic thing today. While you're talking about macroeconomics and all this nice sounding stuff, Kenya just want food.
Is that why you joined this realm of politics, coming in as a regional administrator? So your work was administrative.
Yes.
Largely.
Yes.
Can you honestly say that is the reason why? Because this is the thing, and I'm asking this against the backdrop of the current political and social situation, whereby there is a demand for proper management, where there is a demand for good governance across board. And that then takes into consideration what you are saying now, that people want food on the table. That the people who will strive for 50 shillings is not because they don't have anything to do. They want that 50 shillings to be able to eat.
Yes.
They want to send their children to school. They want to be able to go to hospital and get medical services. That's what people are asking for. Can you truly say that is the reason why you said, let me get into politics, let me be the governor of Trans Nzoia County, so that this thing that people want can actually be done? You want to contribute to that? Or do we see a situation where people want control? That's why they go into politics.
For me, that was the only reason to go down there and try to change things, because I realized over the years that power is in politics. But these guys have made politics look so bad that everybody believes that politics is dirty. Yet it's politicians who are dirty. You're in government, you're an administrator. There are things you want to do, but you can't do them because some politicians stood in your way. Like when I was in the Rift Valley, I was a regional commissioner there, and would really plan to carry out very serious operations like to mop up illicit firearms from the hands of criminals. You plan, you do what you call operational orders. And I was able to talk to the hearts of our officers. I told them, you guys, let us suffer. Because I know we are going to suffer. The terrain is very difficult. Don't ask even for allowance because we will not be given allowances. Let the government give us fuel and let us move in and mop up this illicit firearm. And they agreed. Some of us were going actually to die. They agreed. But just to get the go-ahead, to just proceed and carry out that operation. It couldn't come. And we weren't even asking for much. Then now you discover, are these things really just happening by happen chance, or there's somebody remotely controlling these things, that they want this status quo to remain? And then that's what I conclude, that there's somebody who's orchestrating things. They want Kenya to just remain the way it is because they're benefiting from it. And because as an administrator, it's very difficult for you to be posted to your home county or home region. You have to walk away from home. I don't know. I don't understand the rationale for that. So I said, now I'm getting older. At what point am I going to serve my people directly? So I tried to go and vie for governor in Trans Nzoia. Actually, I had reached like a dead end. When you are RC now, you can only become a PS or become a CS.
Yeah.
And that's political. You must have somebody again to influence for you to get those positions. And our two sons there, they don't know people. They didn't even know that I was regional commissioner. So it was going to influence for me to become a PS. So I said, let me go back to the people. Let them give me this political power and see if we can use it to change our life situation. And it's put me into a lot of trouble because people don't want you to do what you're elected to do.
Characterize trouble. When you say trouble, put you in a lot of trouble. What does that mean?
You see the kind of harassment. Actually, I've gone to the Senate almost 1 million times. I've been taken to NCIC. Now I've been taken to ACC. I've gone to court. What's remaining? And just for saying the truth. Yeah. In this country, when you try to be different, then it causes a bit of problems. Because if you are a politician, you must behave in a certain way. You must be a liar, make false promises, don't make a follow-up on them, be as far away from the population as possible, create that artificial wall between you and the people, be a guy who walks on the red carpet and moves around in convoys and basically just being unreachable. Then now you look like the rest. If you become to do things differently, you are threatening actually the status quo. People now will have to spend money and come to the ground and mix with the people. So they want that. They want to just disappear, come after 5 years. You have made a little money and then. But they don't want that. That's what I'm saying. That one has put me into a bit of problems.
Governor, you say that you are man of the people. You want to change the status quo. And the problem here, the devil is poverty. And as you've gone around speaking with the locals, what are they telling you? Because at the end of the day, you say you're here to serve the people. Have they received the information that you're giving them? Because remember, when you're doing the tour in Eastern region, and recently with the opposition, as well now in Western, while you're headed towards, I think it was the Nyanza region, there were chaos on the roads. Was it orchestrated? Do you have any information if it was planned? But then again, what are the people you're speaking to responding and telling you?
One of the things that really will shock you and actually can even drive you to tears is the level of hopelessness. That people have been left on their own to the extent that they tend to accept that that's how things are supposed to be done. So if you talk to them and demonstrate that actually things can be done differently, that you can be a farmer and actually grow and be rich. Initially they don't believe it, but you can demonstrate to them how you can do it. That's what I'm trying to do. And therefore, my colleagues in politics want to deny you that space. Like when you were driving from Bungoma, we're going to Chwele. Chwele is in a Kabuchai constituency. It's not even in Restoration, but where Tankula comes from, around that place. Of about 11 stopovers, that's the only place we were stopped from going. And the most unfortunate thing is that a member of parliament from Sirisia comes in the morning with a tipper full of stones, then floats them by the roadside. Then gets about 1,000 young people, incites them and gives them money. And then the most unfortunate thing is that the local police, they join these people and they light fires on the road, they light the tires, and basically ensure that we don't proceed to Chwele. Actually, we're just about less than a kilometer to Chwele. And then we come and then we want to ask, really, what is the issue here? We just want to talk to people. If you don't want to listen to us, can you just stay at home? Let those who want to listen to us, listen to us. And the place was really, really packed. People are really waiting to hear us. But these guys were just throwing stones. Actually, my vehicles were stoned. Regigi's vehicles, everybody's vehicle was stoned. And actually, one of my former MCs lost an eye. The people to macho katopoka too. And he was cut with pangas all over. And these are people who are known. So what happened in Nairobi here, where you saw people, watu wamebeba mipini carrying rungus and they are working with police officers. It was the same thing. This one were carrying stones and behind them were police officers. The government is playing with fire. This is how Haiti started. Criminal gangs are going to take over this country. And even those policemen are not going to be safe. That for me, that was the biggest worry for me. Why do you stop somebody from just going to engage his people? And even now, if I said to go to Chwele, people are going to welcome me. We have very historical relations, like Bungoma and Trans Nzoia. We have just basically we're the same. We're the same people. People from Bungoma went to Trans Nzoia. I've got relatives in that place, but it's because of this insecurity I've been talking about. The leadership fearing that when you go there, you're going to raise certain pertinent issues that are going to make them uncomfortable. You're going to open people's eyes. It's really a threat to politicians.
So are there underlying issues, Governor? Are you saying that there are things that are happening which people may not know? And that George Natembeya, when he goes to these barazas or when he goes to talk to people, that he's essentially letting them know that there's a problem here which you should know, and there's somebody who doesn't want that information to come out?
I couldn't have put it better. That's a position.
To what
and the current, of course, the political leadership in Western is lying to the president that they can actually deliver Western to them. And when you go there, it appears as if the narrative is different. Of course, now the gravy train is threatened because they're given money. Like every weekend, we are told people are given millions of shillings to come to the ground and just try to secure the ground for 2027. But now when you come out there and people are coming out, they express themselves, the truth somehow reaches the power that be, and those who are gaining from this by lying that the galvanizing the Western region, of course, feel uncomfortable. That's the only reason why they will stop a political rally. And some of these fellows actually belonged to KANU. They have never done anything for Kenyans. Even during the second liberation struggle, 1990 to the 90s, they were part and parcel of the regime. They have been people have been benefiting all the time. They don't know how to fight for anybody. They all don't know how to fight for themselves. For me, I really excuse them, because if somebody becomes so, like what's happening now, small little children go to the streets and they're talking about issues, very serious issues. Instead of addressing them, you kill them. It's because of their own background. That's how they used to behave when they were in Kanu. And they dream of the good old Kanu days, where the leader's word was final. They want to take us back there. You wake up one day and you're giving directives, and everyone was following those directives unquestioningly. And that's why the intolerance that was shown.
What would happen if the people of this area actually knew that maybe there was a puppet master who was playing and controlling things? What would happen if people now were aware, the people of Western Kenya, right? If they were aware that there was a way that this agriculture that you talk about, which is the bed of the economy in that region, that it would be possible that they could thrive in it and that they could get more from it. If they realize that the security issues are actually orchestrated according to what you're saying. If they realize, if they get the knowledge and understanding that they actually do then have some power of control over their circumstances, what would change significantly?
There will be a revolution.
Okay.
There will be a serious revolution. In fact, for me, my daily prayer every day I wake up is for Kenya to start relating their problems with the kind of political leaders they have. The moment the Kenyans just do that, we are going to have change in this country. So like when you go to the market to go and buy a cow, people are very thorough. You don't even know the history. Which breed is this? How much milk does it produce? All this. You are very, very thorough. Any sicknesses and so forth. But for leaders, we just sloganeering. And then, you shout all over the place. Then you go and vote. Some are on the queue going to vote and they're asking each other, "Tunapigiana and kura." We are that callous and that casual. But the moment we start relating our problems with the leadership that we have, the salvation of Kenya will start.
Well, Governor, Moses Wetangula and Musalia Mudavadi have accused you and your colleagues of being very tribal and balkanizing regions. They're part of the broad-based government. First question, what's your view on the broad-based government? Because you were talking earlier about having a seat at the table to represent your people. They are representing Western on that table. What's your view on the broad-based government? And when you talk about the quality of leaders in your last comment, do you believe Ruto should be a one-term president?
Broad-based governments are an oxymoron. That's not how our constitution intends it. That we have people in government and people outside government, the minority and the majority. That's how just things are supposed to be. A broad-based government is an escape from accountability. That the people who are supposed to be criticizing you, they join the eating table, and therefore they keep quiet. And as somebody said, when you are eating, or mother's daughter, when you are eating, you don't talk. Yeah, so everybody's quiet and everybody's eating. It's actually bread-based. It's not broad-based. What's so broad about that? When you have got like two communities, unfortunately the Kikuyu are there are very many in that government, and the Kalenjins, how broad-based is that? They take over 75% of all the cabinet slots. Is that what do you mean by broad-based? Because two big communities are in government. That's just a nice sounding word that means to me really means nothing. And for those of us who accuse us of tribalism, let them come to Trans Nzoia and say how I've formed my government. My government has got all the communities. I've got Luyas, has got Kikuyus, has got Kalenjins, has got Luos, there's got the Kisses. I have balanced that way. If I was to behave the way the national government behaves and say I was voted for by 80% of Luyas, actually 80% of my vote was for my community, I'd give them 80% of everything. But I realized that this is a cosmopolitan country, and I gave slots to even people did not vote for me. Why can the national government do that? And some of these things just a matter of perception that we belong. Yeah, if I got 22 cabinet slots, can we ensure that we have at least every community, like 22 communities of Kenya are represented there, maybe one. Then you go to the PS slots, and then balance the others. Just a matter of percent, people just feel that they belong. But if you are really saying it's broad-based government, but when you look at the actual names, it's not broad-based. And even look at development, the development initiatives. They're only going to those areas where people are in government. And yet all of us are paying taxes. Can we say the only people in broad-based government should be paying taxes?
Sure. So the broad-based government, according to what you're saying, doesn't fit the bill.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't fill the gaps.
No.
But there are gaps. And then one would ask you, Natembeya, you're in a position of as governor, whereby the county boss is supposed to ensure that, number one, devolution lives out, but at the same time that we see the development agenda also opening up, and then also maybe aspiring to a higher position later on. What would be the solution to these gaps besides, uniting a people regionally, which there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody would want that to see that happen. But then there are gaps, which you've mentioned. There are economic gaps. There are managerial gaps. There are, governmental gaps. And the broad base, which was seen as a solution to some of these gaps, for which people went to the streets in protest, is not working according to what you're saying. What would work? What would you do, if given the opportunity to?
Kenyans talk about something called state capture. That the state is captured. It's not something that you can see, but it's a reality. Like the current president, when he was campaigning, he really made a lot of sense when he was talking about hustlers and giving opportunities to border, to Mama Mboga, and that kind of stuff. What happened when he get the reins of power? What happened? He forgot all that because there are people. These are invisible characters operating in the shadows who have captured the state. The first thing to do is to dismantle all those networks, all those cartels that frustrate anything that ensure that Kenya becomes a modern state. And these are very powerful characters who actually even fund campaigns. They are not that you can't see them, but they really pull a lot of strings. So when you see leaders behaving in a way that doesn't even make sense, not even rational, you'll be wondering what happened to this fellow. But there are certain agreements they make with these characters, these shadowy characters, who then now to mess up with public policy. So for us, we are given an opportunity because I've been in government and I know some of these things. We can be able to dismantle these cartels because Kenyans will not grow as long as the cartels are there. They're getting everything. Yeah. No, Kenya has been looted, but Kenya is surviving because Kenya is a very, very rich country. If we just manage to harness our resources and direct them properly, we are going to be ahead of so many countries, even in Africa and the world at large. And for your question, Okari, about the president being a one-term, I agree with him because he said that if he doesn't deliver 5 years, then Kenya should not bother giving him a second term. Does he believe he has delivered? He was already given a value what we are supposed to do. Does he believe he has delivered? Many of us believe he hasn't, and he's really running out of time because we have got less than 2 years for him to meet all those promises that he made. So if you don't deliver on your own promises, and then I think the only reasonable thing that's supposed to happen to you is to pave way for others. Of course, I've been also telling my colleagues as we move out there quietly, I'm asking them, okay, as we are saying, Ruto must go. What alternative what in terms of plans do we have to sort out these issues? Because if we took over the reins of power like today and we are planless, Ruto has been given like 2-3 years for people making noise. For us, it will take just about 3 months and it will be trouble. Because you must start addressing these serious national issues like immediately. So what we should be doing now is just to work on a plan. And Ruto is not one of the plans. Focusing too much on him, for me, I don't think is necessary. Like for me, I've even stopped focusing on Wetangula and Mudavadi because for me, the history, we are looking at now, how do we now manage our region properly and ensure that we have access to whatever we're entitled as a region.
He said he will not hand over power to you and your colleagues because your chance is just one term, Ruto must go, but you have no clear plan. And the challenge is there a plan?
The plan, we're working on our plan. Of course, that's what I was saying. We are challenging ourselves. Personally, I've been thinking, okay, we're talking about Ruto must go. But these issues are very, very, very serious issues. You can't just become president and think you're going to like a magic wand like this and they're gone. It goes for a lot of serious work. And Kenya seems to be seeing progress. Like you're talking about employment opportunities and people will see that people are getting employed because the economy is growing.
Okay, let me give you one example.
Yes.
You worked as a regional administrator.
Yes.
Education education, as we see it today, is an absolute mess. Anybody who wants to say it's not that case, maybe is living on Mars. But it's a mess in terms of how we're going to transition from one curriculum to another, in terms of what's going to happen in higher, in terms of from pre-primary to university. There are issues across board. It hits on a very fundamental pillar of society, as does health. And so oftentimes when we say that I would bring solutions, we are not specific in our solution bringing. Just as an example, what would need to change, and what would one do if they were serious about, let's say, making change in the education sector or the health sector for that matter?
I'd like us to have a different sitting where you come here and you are saying now, if you are to become president, what are you going to do about education, about health, about all these things? Because those are very, very detailed and very, very serious issues. Of course, what you are saying is very correct. I don't think even the president himself knows what we are doing about education. And that's one of the issues that are bringing a lot of problems. Because I talk about these things, that the teacher doesn't know about CPC, the student doesn't know, the parents do not know, the government itself doesn't even know. Yeah, you are moving from one grade to another, and the transition, nobody even knows what's going to happen. The teachers are handling 844. Now you are coming with CBC. They have not been trained. They are not ready. You are talking about almost every school having a laboratory. You don't have the funds for that. And these kids are coming. No, they're not waiting. What's going to happen? We do not know. Why do we just change things? When it's working, they say don't even tamper with it. Why changing things for the sake of it? Kuna siku naambia president, if somebody gives a hot potato, kiasi moto, then you didn't know it was hot, unaitupa kwa mdomo. Then once in the mouth, you discover it's hot. What are you supposed to do? Do you spit it with this one? Yeah. You spit it. Hii mambo ya CPC angekuwa alispit kitambo sana. Because it's trouble. It's trouble. And it's affecting these guys now who are really putting him on his toes. Now they're going to finish. I don't know which grade 10 or grade 11. I don't know which grade is it. They're going to pour on the streets again. So how is he going to manage these people?
So, Governor, you've mentioned in terms of while you are the RC, you had operations to go and mop up illegal firearms and whatnot. Yeah. But here we're talking about now dismantling cartels in government. And you say once you have an opportunity to run government, that is the first thing that you'd be able to do. And if you just zoom back, as Okari would say, we zoom back and just look at it, right? Means even the current government has the machinery and the power to dismantle these cartels, but they are not doing that. Is that the position? And how would you do it differently?
No, the government doesn't have the machinery to deal with the cartels because the government is cartel. It was formed by cartels. And the first thing to do, if you want to dismantle cartels, is for government officials led by the chief executive of the presidency, the president of the Republic of Kenya, to stop doing business. The president is a farmer. You are competing with peasant farmers, growing maize. You are in the furniture business. You are a timber merchant. You are in insurance. You are in transport. You are everywhere. Can you focus on the business of governing? And you've had all these occupations, these engagements before you become president. Can we let them be for the time that you are president? Because conflict of interest is real. And it complicates matters because these business partners are the ones who are engaging in criminal behavior. What do you do? Yeah, your son owns matatus and is flouting all traffic regulations. What are policemen supposed to do? What are ordinary Kenyans supposed to do? They're going to copy your son's behavior because it's not above the law. So can the president, not just Ruto, can the presidents be excluded from doing private business the moment you are in government? And then you kill all these cartels.
But doesn't that seem to be the order of the day? Before you were here,
Yes.
JB Muturi joined us, of course, for conversation. It was very clear that folks who are getting into these positions are doing it for business. This whole NGCDF conversation comes into play here. That what are we really fighting for? When if at the lowest level, at the ward level, and then we start to get towards the constituency, that folks are fighting for, 200 million shilling per year kitty, but that the development of the ward or the constituency is not top of the agenda. These are words that came from JB Muturi. What are your thoughts about that? If the very institutions that have been set up to do this very thing that you're talking about, that wouldn't even need the intervention of the president, seem to be going in the opposite direction from which the constitution envisioned that it would go, in what direction do we go? What are your thoughts around this kitty that is supposed to be there for that development? NGCDF is hot contention right now, and it's right along the lines of what you're speaking about.
Exactly. Why are county governments and the National Assembly fighting over the roads maintenance levy? Roads is a devolved function, majorly. Rural roads are devolved, but members of parliament want to do roads, and because they can't do it directly, they get money to the Kenya Roads Board. The money is put into KERA, and they're the ones that are implementing projects out there. So if you're a member of parliament and you're doing a road, and that road is done very shortly, we're supposed to raise this issue. Because the person is supposed to do oversight, but the person doing oversight, the one who's doing executive work, all this idea of national government development, consumer development fund, it's about people getting on the gravy train. We are fighting to have access to public resources. Governors are under siege everywhere because there's this belief, that we are swimming in money. Yeah. Why do we look at government as an opportunity to enrich ourselves? Yeah, we do that because the top, some fish starts rotting from the head. Can we stop the presidency from participating in private businesses and doing business with government and enabling cronies to do business with government? The moment we do that, we are going to save our country, and the economy is going to grow. We're not going to overtax Kenyans. We are going to ensure that resources are used in a very accountable manner, and that the National Assembly, the Senate, do their oversight roles without feeling guilty, because you are involved in some of these funny things, and then again you are supposed to provide oversight. At the end of the day, we have got the conscience. It will be telling you what you are doing is not right, or you want to come and appear before the Senate. And everybody wants money. It's like when you land in Nairobi, now governor has come. Kila mtu anataka pesa. How do you do oversight? When you want me to give you money, where am I going to get that money? I have to go and raid my treasury there and give you money. It's going to be another an audit query that you'll be querying the next financial year. Yet you are the one who ate the money. We are just running this country like a disorganized kiosk. And as long as we are doing this, Kenya will not develop. Actually, we have done a lot of disservice to this country. We're not supposed to be where we are now, where unemployment is almost 60%. Chances of you living an entire lifetime without a job in this country is very real. Not because you've not gone to school. You've gone to school, but you can't get a job. You can't get a job. Yeah, and that's what these young people are talking about. We are taking it very casually. We're not addressing it very well. And because we think, because we are leaders, we are very safe. Let me just give an example. If today 1 million Kenyans decided to walk to State House, what are they going to do? Are they going to kill everybody? If just 1 million Kenyans said, let's go to State House, and you barricade everything, you even put the military there, and they say we are going to walk to State House, what are you going to do? All these walls we build around ourselves as leaders, they're very fake walls. They can just crumble. At the end of the day, power is with the people. The people are saying certain things, but we are deaf. We are not listening. And as I told my people the other day, is that Kenyans are now living on hope. The hope that maybe things are going to be better tomorrow. Now, if that hope goes, that things may not be better after all, what do we live for? Because stay at home, you'll die. Go to the streets, you're going to die. So we'd rather go to the street to try to change things and die there. This is feedback, very direct feedback the government just needs to listen to. And let people just sit down. Let the cabinet sit. This cabinet is completely clueless. Can they sit down and say, the problem that's facing Kenya today is the economy. The economy. The economy grows, young people are going to get jobs. People are going to self-employ. We are going to solve this problem that Kenyans are going through. They are not listening. And bullets can't solve any problem. The moment you start killing children, 12-year-olds, 14, you kill one child, that entire family is against you. The entire lineage is against you. Where are you going to get these votes?
You earlier spoke about remote control. A lot of the things that are happening when you say the cabinet is clueless, do you then think there's somebody holding a remote control Or are they simply clueless because you have a lot of intelligent people in there?
Yeah, but have they been given the opportunity, to do what they were employed to do? I look at people in the cabinet. They are very qualified. Some are even overqualified. But what are they doing? What are they doing? Do they even have any somebody coming up with a policy decision that you look at and say, yes, indeed, this person is addressing this problem? Like when Michu came up with this Matatu thing, and he was just doing very basic things, seat belts, speed governors, no standing passengers, just sit, and enforced, and things worked. Do we have any cabinet secretary today who can come up with a decision and implement it without any hindrances? I think that's why the problem is. Do they have even the courage to face the president and tell him, Mr. President, you gave me this portfolio and I wanted to run it this way. And I think that too many Kumbaras in my office, I can't run it. Would they just go down and run down the clock and say, I'm cabinet secretary, let me do business for the next 2-3 years, become rich, and that's it?
Governor, how would you respond to a comment that you have mixed yourself with those who are part of the problem, and perhaps maybe you need to find your own path, being with those that have not taken this country to the pit we find ourselves in?
I think that's just a very general kind of complaint, if you may call it that way. But for me, I'm trying to politically, I want to be guided by the needs of the people, and the need to find solutions, practical solutions to this problem. I don't want to be those politicians who just vibe because you feel entitled. That I've been governor, therefore I want to be president. I've been deputy president, therefore I want to be president. I've been vice president. I've been minister, so I want to be president. Only that. No. We want to see if we're given these opportunities, what can we do, and can we get a team of people that we can work with to solve Kenya? Because you cannot do these things alone. Look at countries like Malaysia, Singapore, that we keep talking about. It just took a few men, and fortunately they were just men, who just sat down and said, no, we are on the wrong track. Yeah, can we recalibrate? Can we come back to the right track? And we have that resolve to do things right. And if we say no stealing, if a member of our team steals even 1 shilling, he faces the consequence of an ordinary thief, an ordinary chicken thief. What they go through is what that cabinet should go through. That accountability applies across board, and then we'll be fine. So as we build this team, of course there'll be those perceptions. And for me, I'm ready to let go of colleagues that I believe the only thing that I bring to the table is baggage, and nothing else. Because some people are so beholden to the past that whatever you do, you literally cannot change them. But Kenya now needs to be forward looking. So those things are there. That we are in the wrong group. Is the group we have, that we're working together. I believe some of our colleagues appreciate the situation that Kenya is in, and they've got the resolve to try to change this country. Yeah, maybe some of them they look like baggage because of the kind of environment they're operating in. Maybe given new environment, they can do better.
Indeed. George Natembeya is the governor of Trans Nzoia County. What does it look like, just really quickly, in like 5 seconds, that, court case comes up in a few, probably, let's see what happens with that, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
A few more days out of office, and then we'll see what happens. All right. Thank you for joining us this morning. A lot of people are saying there's sober discussions that are happening here. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the future with this.
Asante.
Thank you for staying until this time, and we look forward to more conversations with you in the future. Good morning, folks. 5 minutes past 9.
Asante sana for the opportunity.
Thanks.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start